Right, so we got some Keldon Johnson news here, and is it fake? Is it real? Well, I have an opinion nonetheless.
I want some nasty. Are we having fun yet?
All right, so let's see here. So Hoopswire has some things to say about Keldon Johnson. Now, this is what they had to say. This is from Ashish Mather? Keldon Johnson is going to be traded by the Spurs this summer. I think even if you ask Keldon, he'd tell you, yeah, I'm getting traded. And then he goes on to say, the Spurs could have made a huge trade at the trade deadline, but San Antonio GM Brian Wright was too busy trying to convince Jeremy Sohan, who didn't want to go to the All-Star weekend. All right, so I got a few problems with this, okay? So first and foremost, I don't think that there's any problem when it pertains to someone, saying that they have sources or, especially if they're credible at all, or if they don't really have a history of just lying, and being sensational for no reason. So, people like, and I think I just saw Ty. Yeah, Ty actually posted in here as well. Like people like Ty, I really respect Ty Yeager a lot. But even myself, if I tell you something and I'm like, yeah, I got some sources or I heard something, like I'm saying it without any type of sensationalism. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you some made up stuff or trying to add on to it. The reason why I don't like stuff like this is because initially the claim that Keldon Johnson is going to be traded, I think you don't even really need any sources for that one, right? I think most people, most Spurs fans would agree and understand after watching this season that yes, you have this generational talent in Wembanyama. More than likely, Keldon Johnson is going to be moved, right? Like, yes. Do I think that this person has no sources whatsoever? No, I won't go that far, but I will say that anybody could have said that. But what makes me a little wary with reports like this is when you add on to it and say the GM Brian Wright was too busy trying to convince Jeremy Sohan not to go to the All-Star weekend. It seems like one of those claims that no one can really prove you wrong on, and it just seems like a weird abstract detail that just doesn't really matter. But by you tacking that on, it makes your reporting seem a little bit more credible than it might have been otherwise. It's just something that just unnecessary, right? Like if we're coming out and we're saying this is what we've heard, that's what you heard. But this whole like he was trying to talk to Sohan and get him to go to All-Star weekend, that's why he couldn't make a deal is insane. That makes no sense whatsoever. And if that is true, then I will go as far as to say, hey, you guys are right. Brian Wright is a bad GM, because that makes no sense to me. That is insane to me. So I cannot get with that one. But as far as just my overall opinions about Keldon Johnson being traded, I do think it's going to happen. I've heard my own things, right? Like, I won't go into that, but I have heard my own things. It's pretty obvious, right, that he'll be gone. And I think even Keldon Johnson himself would say, yeah, like they say, yeah, I'm getting traded. He would probably even himself say, yeah, it's not necessarily fitting right now. So no hate to Keldon. Not saying that he's a bad player or anything. He just doesn't necessarily fit with the Wembanyama era. And there's many a times where he's on the court and it just it's just a standstill, right? Like as far as the offense, it slows down. It doesn't move as much as it was prior. Defense just isn't there on par with what we would need right now. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And I can see the Spurs very much so trading away Keldon Johnson. Now, I wouldn't necessarily agree with this. It would have to be a really great deal for me to agree with this, but trading away Keldon and the 8th pick, I would really need to see what does that look like, because I would like to hold on to that 8th pick, especially since it seems that there's a possibility for you to get Dilly, Ron Holland, and or Buzelis, right? Like there's no... If that's possible, I don't see why we would trade it away. But we'll see. We'll have to wait and see and see how things go. 2025 is looking beautiful with DeMar DeRozan saying that he wants to stick with the Chicago Bulls and they will continue to be mediocre. So things looking good. For the Spurs in that regard. But as it stands right now, I don't know if I would I would just need to see what it looks like if that reporting is true. But yeah, reports like this just make me a little wary when you start tagging on details like this, because there was no reason even bringing that up, that the Spurs could have made a huge trade at deadline, but he was busy convincing Sohan. It's like, come on. It makes the rest of the claim seem unreliable. But I will say, from what I've heard, this is, yeah, I think Keldon would be gone. But anyways, I'll get with you guys later, man. Until next time, bye.